In this video, I'll be going over the multi-store model of memory, which was proposed by Atkinson and Shortterm in 1968. The experiment that you conducted yesterday on your partner is based on a research that supports and provides evidence for this model of memory. So according to this model, memory is divided into three different components. There's the sensory memory, which is also known as the sensory register. There's the short-term memory and also the long-term memory. The model suggests that each of these three components have their own specific durations and capacity. So duration is basically how long that component can hold information. Is it for 3 seconds? Is it for 10 seconds? Is it for 30 seconds? Is it forever? Right? That's basically what the duration means. And capacity is how many units of information it can hold. Okay? Unit can also be called chunk, and this basically means, let's say for example, I read the numbers 1 to 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is 10 different units of information because each number on itself makes a meaningful unit. Okay, now if I say, for example, read that as 12, 34, 56, 78, and 910, that is only 5 units of information because when I chunk 1 and 2 together, they make 12 and they make a meaningful unit of information or meaningful chunk of information. So then the capacity refers to how many of those chunks can each of these components hold. This model also suggests that for information to move from one component to the next one, specific conditions or criteria need to be met. So the first component is the sensory memory, also known as the sensory register. This is where information is in the environment through our 5 different senses. We have 5 different senses, as you might have learned already, which is of touch, sight, taste, sound, and smell. Okay, our sight is stored as iconic memory, and sound is stored as echoic memory. One needs to pay attention to information in the environment for it to be encoded into the short-term memory, which is the second component. Okay, for example, if I was reading for a test, okay, and I'm sure this is something you can relate to a lot. I was studying and I was reading for a test all of my notes that I made in class, and even though I'm reading through it, my attention is really on the anxiety that I'm experiencing that I might not pass my test. So then it is likely that I will not even register or encode this information into my short-term memory, let alone into my long-term memory. Okay? So once I have paid attention to that information, it is encoded. Okay? Encoding is a process through which information is changed to a format that memory can deal with. Okay? Information is encoded from the sensory register to the short-term memory acoustically. This basically means that regardless of which sense you process or perceive the information through, it will all be stored or converted into acoustic sound formats. So, for example, if I saw a dog, okay, and this dog is not barking, this dog doesn't smell, this then means that it is a purely visual stimulus. But I would not be able to encode this into my short-term memory as purely visual. I would have to say dog, okay, and that is the acoustic format of it, which is what it is converted into, okay, and this is how information is stored in the short-term memory. Before we go into the duration and capacity of the short-term memory, let's just go over the duration of the sensory register. So this can be viewed from the iconic and echoic memories. For the iconic memory, stimulus or information just lasts in the sensory register for 1 second before it is lost, and for echoic, it lasts for 2 to 5 seconds before it is lost. Okay. So the short-term memory has a duration of less than 30 seconds, okay? And it has a capacity of 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. An example is from the experiment that you conducted on your participants. I went through the results and I did an average of condition 1, which had no distraction task. And what I found was the average recall of correct number of words, which are units of information, was 7. So even our activity was able to confirm that the capacity of the short-term memory is about 7 chunks of information. Okay, so now the duration. If you don't then rehearse the information that is in your short-term memory in those 30 seconds that it remains there, this means that it will not move into your long-term memory. Okay, so the condition for it to move from short-term memory to long-term memory is rehearsal. Okay, whatever information is not rehearsed and encoded into the long-term memory is displaced. So encoding from the short-term memory to the long-term memory occurs semantically. Semantic is meaning. So now this means that if information needs to be encoded into the long-term memory, it needs to be associated to some meaning. Okay, it needs to be consolidated, assimilated, and accommodated to previous memories, or have some new meaning for it to be encoded into the long-term memory. As for the duration and capacity, it is infinite. This basically means that information can be stored in the long-term memory for as long as you want, and that the capacity is not just 7 chunks or 2 terabytes, that it is infinite as well, and you can hold as much information in the long-term memory as possible. But the problem with that is if information in the long-term memory is not retrieved periodically or over a long period of time, there's a high chance that it might be decayed. So if, for example, you have a dream and you've talked about it to someone, but over a period of time you don't remember it or you don't retrieve it and you don't tell anyone else about it, it is very likely that you don't remember that memory or the memory of that dream. Okay, that is just one example. So this is the basic run through of the multi-store model. I have a song, really cute one, that explains it as well.
Oh, memory start a sensory information. If you don't focus on them, they will slip away. Pay a little attention and they won't decay. Oh, the fleeting memories are mainly encoded acoustically to be stored in the short-term memory. But if you don't rehearse them regularly, after 18 to 30 seconds, they'll be gone. Oh, and there's only room in the STM for 5 to 9 pieces of information. We displace the memories and fill the space with things we ought to know. Keep them with us as we go. So give it time, give it meaning, semantically encode the things you're keeping. Rehearse and rehearse, elaboratively hiding away infinite memories in the long-term store, potentially forevermore. Though there's still chance of decay, chances are once they're there, they will stay.